Welcome to another Pay the Deuce. Joined as always by Matt McCumber, Kevin Duce.
Call him money, Matt. Money, Matt McCumber.
Money, Matt.
Money Moco, baby.
Here it was. This was the race with here's Kevin and Matt. Week 1. Here it is. Week 10.
Slow but steady. Wins
I don't
the
know.
race.
I don't know if he's ahead, but we're right there.
We're very close. Yeah, I might be within a game or two right now.
But man, if you guys have been putting money with Matt the last 3 or 4 weeks, you probably been making it. And with that said, Kevin, if you've been putting money with Kev, most of the weeks you've made money.
Yeah, that owns 6 week before last. That one still stinks, but
yeah.
So, and I would say this: your guys you each, I think, had one pick all year that I'll pick on real quick, and it's okay. You can say whatever you want about me. So the Ryder Cup pick was just whatever. I think it was just a throw. You can spit in the wind, just hope it doesn't hit you.
It was a heart pick. I had to throw some golf on it.
And then Matt's Indiana Michigan pick was.
Well, I mean, that was before I knew they were stealing signs. Can I get some?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what it is. It was the signs.
Yeah,
I forgot because Connor Stallions was over there watching the Indiana game with his big mustache.
Hey,
he probably looked like Get Smart, right?
That Central Michigan screen cap, it's getting hilarious now.
I mean, it's crazy, and makes me wonder what Illinois would have beat Michigan by last year without all those signs they were stealing.
Right.
Because they really didn't beat Illinois anyway. So, I mean, man. So, with that said, everyone, we appreciate you guys tuning in wherever you're at. If you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, or you're on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys there. Both of you guys had pretty good weeks. And this week, we'll start out in the Big Ten, and we're going to head to Piscataway, Jersey, home of the Giants, Tommy DeVito.
Touchdown,
Big
Tommy,
money DeVito. I'm sure if you guys had that guy in your fantasy team, you would have never thought he would have given you any points. But
in a deep league.
Yeah. That's a real deep league.
In defense of TD, Tyrod Taylor didn't do diddly squat when he was in the game either. So
no, he didn't. Well, I mean, he scored their only touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I mean, come on. And they wouldn't even let him throw in the second half for real. So we're staying in Jersey. Jersey's finest, Tommy DeVito didn't choose Rutgers. He chose Syracuse and then Illinois. But Rutgers has Greg Schiano and a 6-2, really, really solid. They're just solid,
Very.
They don't really beat themselves. They take advantage of others' mistakes. It's an 18.5 point spread. Ohio State is number 1 in the college football playoff, which I don't know if that's shocking to either one of you guys, but kind of surprising.
A little surprising, but name recognition there. I mean, I thought it would have went to Georgia and OSU too, but nah.
Yeah, so in this one, it's the line's 18.5, and I can understand why it might be it's just Rutgers. It's really not the same Rutgers. They don't beat themselves, and I know Ohio State's got some firepower, but Rutgers has a pretty good defense. They have great special teams. I think that the thing here is, you guys, when you make your picks, do you think Rutgers has enough offense? So, Matt, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that is the $1 million question, because their offense can be a little, bogged down at times, and they do have trouble scoring. But I look at this game, and I kind of go with the same logic as last week with Ohio State. I just think 18.5 is way too many points for an Ohio State team that doesn't score like they used to. And Rutgers has a very good defense. Rutgers allow about 15.8 points per game on defense. Ohio State's, I think, in the top 5. They're around 10 a game. So we got 2 very good defenses here. Again, Schiano, like you said, very disciplined team. They do not beat themselves. Can they score enough? I think so, to keep it within 18.5. Over-under is 42.5. They're anticipating a low-scoring game, maybe, somewhere around 21-13 or, maybe 24-13, something like that.
Yeah.
I think this stays within 18.5. And I think Vegas has undervalued Rutgers all season. They're 6-1-1 versus the spread. Whereas Ohio State's 4-4. They've got some big spreads out there throughout the year. They didn't cover last week. I don't think they're covering 18.5 this week.
I think they're thinking it's going to be like a 28-10 or 30-10 type of game. I'm thinking if that's where the line is, but 28-13 seems probably pretty good. But Kev, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm on the same logic as Matt here. 18.5 points for the home team, a pretty well-coached team that's doing things the right way. Rutgers has the second best rushing offense in the conference. Where they struggle is they really struggle to throw the ball. They don't throw the ball for much.
Nope.
But they're like the second fewest sack team in the conference. Actually, the fewest sacks. They've only given up 7 sacks all year. Ohio State's pass rush has left a little bit to be desired with only 16 on the year. I'm not saying that Rutgers is going to come out here and throw the ball all over Ohio State. They're really going to try and run and control the clock. Ohio State has a very good run defense. But I think that I'm just not a believer in McCord and the offense and their ability to score enough. Here.
Yep.
18 points, it's a big number. And I think for Ohio State to score, to cover that, they're probably going to have to shut Rutgers out. And so I see this being somewhere like 27, 27-10, 27-13. But, there is the possibility that Ohio State could, shut them out and win the game 24-0. It wouldn't shock me. But I think Rutgers' defense, the inconsistencies of McCord leave them with a couple enough short fields to keep this game within contention. They do have a really good running game. They got a dynamic running back. I forgot what his name's eluding me at the moment. The kid's a pretty good ball player. So
yeah,
I like Rutgers. 18.5 points is too much to give in this situation. I think the folks for Sunge, the State University of New Jersey, are going to come out like wild hyenas out there. They're going to be really pumped to have this home game, even though it's early kick. I think Rutgers keeps it within the number.
Yeah, and you know what? And I just watched The Journey last night with the story with Isaiah Williams, and then the running back from Rutgers who's supremely undersized. And his high school coach was telling Greg Schiano, because Greg was asking him, "Is this guy really a Big Ten running back?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Kyle Managa guy.
Yep. Yeah. So, and he has proven his worth, and I think Greg Schiano has proven that man can coach his tail off. So moving on to the next game on the docket, we're going to go to Manhattan, right?
It's in Austin.
Oh, it's in Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that changes things for me a little bit. But and I was going to have some fun with the wordplay. I was going to say Manhattan, like, oh, New York. Like, no, the Little Apple. And you knew something about that.
4 years there, yeah.
That's right. So Kansas State heads to Austin to play the Longhorns of Texas, and looks like the line, you guys, is 5.5 for Texas is a favorite to win this. 5.5. Kev, we're going to start with you. Do you think, because Kansas State seems to be the team that loses a couple games every year they probably shouldn't.
Yep.
But they always beat like an Oklahoma or, a Texas, or one game a year. They just beat a team. You're like, wow, okay. They surprised me because, they lost to Texas Tech or whatever. But do you think Kansas State has what it takes to take down Sarkisian's boys down in Austin? 5.5 point spread.
All right. So this is the time of the year, and Matt's going to know exactly what I'm talking about, where you see a line and the intuition of the average college football bettor goes, Texas.
Yeah.
Texas. What are you talking about? Texas. I saw it at 4. I was like, Texas. When that natural gut intuition takes over for the average Joe bettor, go the other way. I talked about it earlier in the year about the West Virginia Duke game in the NCAA tournament. This is a line that makes no sense to me. This game should be 9.5 Texas. They're playing at home. They're the better team. They've got some life in the Big 12. Oklahoma lost last week. They've got some life in the college football playoff championship still. The Alabama win is looking better every single week. It screams take Texas. So I'm going to fade that. And I'm going to take Kansas State because the line doesn't make any sense. I have no logic for this other than that. The line doesn't make sense to me. And when I do that, I go against what the average Joe bettor would do and then take the logic, and I'll take the Wildcats here. Give me the points.
Matt, what you got?
Yeah, I love the logic, and exactly. It's a good point. And I think Kev might have a bet later on during this broadcast that kind of I was feeling the same way when I looked at the line eventually, or at the first sight, and was going to maybe make it my lock, but Kev went the other way. But we'll save that for later. But I'm going with Kansas State as well, covering the 5, or give me the points with them 5.5, because they're playing a really nice brand of football right now. They've outscored their opponents 82-3 the last 2 weeks. 4 out of their last 5 games, they've scored at least 38 points in 4 of those 5 games. Now, granted, they're not the top echelon of the Big 12 right now. There's some BYU's, and I think they played Cincinnati in one of those games. But I think, what was the other one? Can't remember. But anyways, I mean, they're taking care of business and playing a really nice brand of football. They've got Will Howard at quarterback, with the freshman coming in that spells him sometimes. And at Texas Tech, Will Howard wasn't playing great. They insert Avery Johnson. He scored 5 rushing touchdowns as a freshman. So they've got the weapons on offense, and then their defense, like I said, 3 points in the last 2 weeks, playing exceptionally well. They just have dudes on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Texas is supremely talented, but they got a second-string quarterback in there. Murphy, he was fine last week at about 175 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, just kind of ho-hum. He's not Quinn Ewers. So I like to see this Kansas State defense get after him in a real pressure game. He had no pressure last week at home versus BYU. He got to sit back in that pocket and kind of pick them apart, and they won 34-6 or something. So give me the Wildcats 5.5 here. I think it's too much. I think it's a close game, and this would be a game I would sprinkle a little Kansas State money line.
And a little heads up here for some of the folks at home. Matt and I had some conversations about this in the group. Is that we're pulling the odds off scoresandodds.com. So Matt and I had a little bit of difference of opinion on where this number was, and you might want to lean one way or the other. Scores and Odds does an amalgamation of all the lines out there. So they've got it at 5.5. If you see it elsewhere, like Matt said, he might sprinkle some money line here for K-State. I don't know what the number would have to be for me to get Texas. Maybe a pick 'em, maybe 1.5. But I really like Kansas State to stay within this number, especially at 5.5.
Yeah, agree.
Moving on to a former Big 12 squad who is now currently in the SEC, who's had a pretty surprising year to a degree. I think they've got quality, but the Missouri Tigers are heading into Athens, Georgia, a top 15 clash. They're the 14th ranked team in the college football playoff, Missouri, and they're heading to 12th. Sorry, they're the 12th ranked team in the playoff, and against the second ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And it's just it's, the college football playoff said this, but the ranking said that. So interesting to a degree, but also Matt, do you think Missouri has enough offense to keep it under 16.5?
You know what? Their offense has been good, and I'll give them a lot of credit. I mean, they're 7-1. They've taken care of business too, just kind of like K-State. They've kind of had a workman-like approach. They've done enough. They've taken care of business. You got Cook back there finding Luther Burden, big playmaker. He always seems to come shine in big games and when they need him. I am looking at, though, I bet against Georgia a couple times this year already. It always seems like at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, they might only be down 7 or 8, but they find a way to get the spread.
You mean up 7 or 8?
Up 7 or 8, sorry. Yeah, and they always find a way to cover the spread.
Remember, Matt, last year, though, Missouri and Georgia, they gave Georgia their best game of the year.
They did. And Georgia should have lost at Columbia. But both of these Ds are good. Georgia first in the SEC, and Mizzou kind of middle of the pack, middle of the road. Obviously, Georgia gets the brunt of that versus Missouri. But offensive 6th for Georgia, 17th in the nation for Mizzou, And then Mizzou's converting on 97% of their trips into the red zone, but Georgia allows the fewest red zone trips in the entire nation. So I don't think Mizzou is going to get there enough and not going to have as many chances to score. So I'm going to take the Bulldogs at home, minus 16.5. This is 17 plus for me for sure. I think they end up covering. They find a way in the second half. It's going to be close until then.
So last week I took Georgia, and it was about the same spreads, 14.5 against Florida in a rivalry game. And it seemed like too big of a number for a lot of people. The logic for that was kind of like I talked about in the previous game. Is that too much? I think Georgia's finally found its way. And Carson Beck's thrown for 2,400 yards this year. That offense is starting to come around. Yeah. And we all know what that defense is. And I don't care. They got a lot of guys in the league. They still got dogs for the dogs on that side of the ball. Furthermore, this is a team that's won 25 straight games. They've won 2 consecutive college football national championships. And you got moved out of the number 1 spot in the first college football playoff. Yeah, I think it's blessed. And I think Missouri's a little bit of paper tigers here. Missouri's beaten Kentucky, who Kentucky's shown like, what are they really? Missouri's best win year to date, Kansas State at home in Columbia, 30-28 on a long field goal.
Yeah.
I just do not see – I see this is a game where Missouri gets exposed a little bit for who they are. I think Missouri's a good football team. I think 7-1 is a little bit of a farce. I don't think they've really played anybody. The one time they played somebody, LSU went up and down the field on them. Georgia's got the second best offense in the SEC behind LSU. And there's one thing that Georgia has that LSU doesn't, and that's the ability to stop other teams from scoring. LSU's defense is putrid. I think that Brady Cook gets some pressure. I think he gets hit. I think Georgia's pissed. Give me the Bulldogs by 3 touchdowns at least in this one. This might be an old-fashioned ass whooping. This might be like 45-7, and everybody's like, "Oh, maybe we should have paid more attention to Georgia."
My apologies with the ticker keeping KSU and Texas up on the whole time. My bad.
Well, I think people knew who we were talking about.
I know, but my bad, you guys. So not letting it happen with the next one. I'm knocking it out right away. So this one to me is just what the line. What's the total line, like 65, 70, 70?
75.5.
Yeah.
So
you got that, Matt? Is that what you got it too?
Yeah, I earlier was 74.5, but it's probably
So
I was looking through my app.
You got last year's Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, against this year, I think's probably front runner.
He's in the conversation for sure.
Yeah,
he sure is. Yeah,
he should be. Heading to in this game is in the Coliseum.
Yep.
So to me, I don't know why USC is still ranked, but it is what it is. I think they just keep them there for name recognition, just to be a big matchup. Who knows? But Cal, about a 3-4 Cal team, beat USC last week, and they put up 43 on. Now they put up 49 on USC.
49.
They went for 2.
I was going to say USC had to get a 2 to win.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, man, how many of the Huskies going to put on them? I know. And the only thing I can say to me that makes this tricky with the line 4.5 is that Washington the last 2 weeks has really not looked like that team that beat Oregon. Yeah. I don't know if there was just some letdown after that big matchup where they were competition went down. Arizona State nearly beat them in Seattle. They actually looked human because Washington looked like
15-7, right? Ooh.
Yeah, they looked like a locomotive, unstoppable, and then Arizona State holds them to 15 points.
Yeah, didn't even score an offensive touchdown.
And then last week Stanford, who's just a tricky team, 1 week they can put up 35-40, the next week they'll lose by 20. And they gave Washington about 3 good quarters, so that was a pretty decent game. And then now here we are with USC. Top 25 matchup, 4.5. Kev, we're going to start with you.
So we got Washington traveling to USC in prime time, and USC's catching the points. We got a home dog in prime time. We know my bets. I love home dogs. I love home dogs in prime time. Tee it up. Not so fast, my friend.
Hold on. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast.
You were talking about arguably the least intimidating home field environment for a blue blood football team in all of college football. I just spent the last week. You guys know I was on that golf outing. I'm there with a buddy from LA. They just don't care about college sports there. It's just not that important to them. And I don't give USC the same bump here. And the problem for me is, just like you said, while Washington has been a little bit inconsistent the last couple of weeks, I think there was a major letdown coming out of that Oregon game. I talk all the time about the emotions of college football. Washington was on cloud 9, and then all of a sudden they had to play an Oregon State team that they're favored by 28. And man, I wanted to jump on Arizona State. I wanted to jump on Arizona State, and I didn't. And I'm mad. I'm still kicking myself for that one. And then they got a Stanford team that they're favored by 24.5. I was like, well, now all of a sudden you get the big dogs. I don't give a crap what USC's done the past couple of weeks. There's still something about that garnet and yellow, or whatever they call their color schemes. They are still the bullies of the Pac-12. I don't care what's happened the past few years. Washington is coming into this game. They're going to be fired up. And USC's just flat out inability to stop anyone on defense. And you got arguably the best quarterback you played against all year.
Yep.
Washington might hang 60 on them. And I don't think that's an exaggeration, dude. I really don't. And so 4.5 points is not enough for me here.
Utah scored 35, so there you go.
Yeah, and Utah doesn't have, Utah's offense is suspect, right? Yeah. And so give me Washington. I'll give the points at USC here. I get the better quarterback. I get the better defense. I don't know if I get the better offense. I get the better football team right here. And I don't get the typical home field advantage in a primetime environment. So give me Washington minus the points here. I think, and I do like the over. A 75.5 is a big pill to swallow. But I mean,
I couldn't see it.
This has got 50-30. This has got 50-42 written all over it.
It does.
I'm thinking like to get that line, it's gonna have to be like 40-35. You know, like no way in heck is that happening. All right, Matt.
Over. Mm-hmm.
I cannot. Everything that Kev just said is right. There's nothing I can really add to this other than the fact that I just do not trust USC's defense. I mean, it's just can't do it. They've shown time and time again that they can't stop the run. They have major holes in their secondary. People just pass all over them. They can't get teams off the field on third down. And you got a top 2 Heisman candidate coming in here that hasn't played well in the last 2 weeks. I mean, to his standards, they obviously both won, and he's still putting up numbers, but he hasn't been sharp. And, he's going to be out for blood. Now, on the other side, USC too, people think the sky's falling there. They're sitting at 7-2, don't think they should be ranked. But as Kev said, they've got a terrible home field advantage. People don't care. And there's a lot more things to do in LA than go to a 7-2 SC football game against Washington.
And the number of Washington grads that live in the greater LA area, I wouldn't be surprised if the Coliseum is 40% purple and gold.
Oh, yeah.
It's similar to what the Chargers and the Rams face, where they don't really have much of a home field advantage down there because there's so many transplants.
Right.
And it's weird. Isn't it weird to say, like, they have the better quarterback? It's like,
I said that. I don't know if I'm right with that one. I might have overstepped my bounds.
I will say USC
this year he has been
is better.
This year,
yes, the better offense. Yes,
that USC does have the better total offense in a lot of categories, but it's debatable. But anyways, USCD giving up 44 a game the last 3 games. I don't
know how does their defensive coordinator have a job?
I know, and they're 2-7 against the spread this year.
It's Alex Grinch, right? I mean,
it is.
Come on, man.
I was going to say, is that like Lincoln Riley's best friend growing up?
He was Ohio State's D coordinator. Came to Oklahoma and made their defense actually serviceable. But it took a couple of years. So
oh my goodness! All right, okay.
So I'm going to end. Give me UW minus 4.5, and just a little tidbit: overs last 5 games between these two teams, 0-5. Just a little. Put it in your pocket. Put it in your pocket. Yep, right like that.
All right. Will do. All right. If Matt tells me to put it in my pocket, I'm putting it in my pocket. All right. So next, we have a revenge game here because we remember how this game ended last year, right? LSU getting wasn't that walk off towards the end of the game in Baton Rouge.
It was.
That really kept Alabama out of the playoff. I mean, that loss is the one that just hung over them. It was just like, not good enough. And that's going to really, I think, keep this matchup, which LSU, I think, has been, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me with Bama. Just they weren't impressive as much earlier in the year. They're doing kind of what they normally you would expect them to do of late. This can obviously with the line 3.5, but I think Bama's definitely going to come in and they're not forgetting last year, and they know if it happens again this year, they're out again. So with that said, Matt, I think we're starting with you on this one, right?
Yep.
Do you think that they're going to do it 2 years in a row? The old Baton Rouge Tigers.
I do not. And first of all, shout out Russ S. listening in China right now at 10:45 a.m. That's awesome. Okay,
cool, man.
Love to see it.
Right.
I don't. I think Bama at home, it's just no way. I don't bet against Nick Saban at home. I don't bet against him at 6:30 at night. And it's a night game. I don't care who the opponent is. Give me the 3.5. Both of these teams are coming off bye weeks. And yeah, Jalen Milroe at the beginning of the season really got, a little brunt of some skepticism because of how he performed. And, the guy's only a sophomore. I mean, give him a break. He was still learning. I think he's gotten steadily better throughout the season. He's going to still make mistakes. He's still going to miss some throws here and there, but he's got a great deep ball. They've got athletes all over the field. So does LSU. Don't get me wrong. LSU's number one in the nation in third down conversions, first downs, and scoring. So their offense is obviously very, very good. But the Alabama defense will be the best defense that LSU sees all season. And Brian Kelly said so in the press conference the other day. He's like, we're going to have to come in and be better than ever because it's the best defense we've seen all season. So I still like the Bama defense here. LSU secondary a little banged up, gives me even more onus to take Bama here, -3.5. Both teams 5-3 against the spread. But LSU 1-2 versus ranked teams. Give me Bama at home under the lights. Nick Saban, play Sweet Home Alabama.
It's too bad they weren't a dog. Otherwise,
that's right.
Home dog in prime time.
Yeah, there's no way that's happening. Not in Tuscaloosa. And we're in a lot of agreement here, Matt, with what's been said here. And the challenge for me in this one is that Alabama has enough offense to score against just about anyone. They can score a little bit. But the challenge is, like, LSU just flat out can't tackle guys. And I know that mobile quarterbacks have given Nick Saban's teams fits in the past, and LSU's going to score here. I mean, it's going to happen. But Bama, I get a top 20 defense in Alabama, 17th in the nation, and an 88th ranked LSU defense. I mean, their defense is not USC bad, but it's pretty damn bad. I mean, it's embarrassing how many athletes they have on that side of the ball that they can't stop the football. I mean, where in the world are we when we're talking about LSU's offense and not about their defense? Other than the season that they've had with Joe Burrow, it's been the complete opposite for basically the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And you get them under the lights in Tuscaloosa, rivalry game. Bama pissed off about what happened last year. Give me Roll Tide in this one, something like 38-24. I mean, I think Tide rolls in this one, maybe 38-27, something like that. But I think the Tide roll in this one. And I haven't looked at the total on this one, but it's got me thinking. I can't imagine it's that high. Matt, No,
I want to say it's in the 40s, but I don't have. Yeah,
if it's in the 40s, I'm going over hard all day.
It might be actually right.
49.5 or something.
Yeah, like 50.5 actually.
So I'll probably do some research on that one. But I mean, LSU's going to score because they've got the number one offense in the country. But my goodness, that Alabama defense is starting to flex its muscle a little bit here. So
And for the last one, you guys, before we get to the locks, we're gonna stick right around old Kev's neck of the woods for some Bedlam. Because guess what? Bedlam is about to be ending very soon. Is this the last year?
Yeah.
This is the last year, yep.
You can just tell, man. You can just.
Matt, I'm not going.
Yeah, you could just tell though. Mike Gundy's so sore about it. It's, he's just real sore about it. I think you just hear him talk about it a couple times a year, and well, we'll still get the game, but hey, you know what? They want to leave the conference. They can leave the I can tell you what, Oklahoma State is sneaky good. I think sneaky good. They always end up being 9-3, 10-2 every year. So but with the 6.5 point spread, I know Oklahoma's going to come in and just the way Kansas got to them last week, the weather I think definitely affected it I think it affected Oklahoma a lot more than I think it affected Kansas. So Kansas had to make some big plays last week to pull it off. They did, but I think Oklahoma's going to have to, take it out on the old Cowboys. So, Kevin, we're starting with you on this one.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. So this is if you talk about the separation of conferences, what the Big 12 did eventually is why Nebraska is now a Big 10 team. So Nebraska's rival was Oklahoma. And then when they split into the two divisions in the Big 12, Nebraska got to play Oklahoma 2 times every 6 years. And you'd say, well, Oklahoma lost a rival. Well, yeah, but Oklahoma also had a rival in Oklahoma State. They also had a rival in Texas. So they had 3 rivalry games a year. Losing one doesn't hurt them that bad. Well, now where's Oklahoma State at this? Like, who's their rival now that Oklahoma's leaving? That Oklahoma and Texas are leaving. So there's some butt hurt in Stillwater, and I get it, right? And I'm actually a Mike Gundy fan because all that dude does is find a way to go 9-3 or 10-2 in Stillwater. Ryan, you already said it. Like they started off the season really poor. Who'd they get beat by 23-0? Everybody's like, oh my goodness, this team is.
Yeah,
I was all over them. Yeah, they were terrible.
Yeah. And all of a sudden they're 6-2 and might have the best running back in college football. Like Ollie Gordon. This dude, if y'all haven't watched this dude play, he is freaking incredible, dude. He is incredible. And Oklahoma is reverting to some things they've done in the past. They cannot stop the run. Devin Neal ran for 100 and some odd yards on them last week. The weather's going to be perfect here on Saturday, so it's not going to affect much there if you're going to talk about a weather game. I honestly don't know what Oklahoma was doing with how rarely Bill and Gabriel threw the ball last week. But this is one where you get a home team, you get a home charged up crowd, and I like the Pokes in this one. This is it's not a primetime game, is it? I haven't looked.
It's not. It's 2:30.
2:30. Yeah, that's right, because I got invited to a party, but I've got plans at 2:30 on Saturday to not watch any other football other than the beloved.
I was about to say you gotta have plans for Minnesota now.
Yeah, in front of my couch watching the damn game. Yeah. It's too many points. This is a big number. This is a big number to me. This is a big number in a rivalry game, and I know Oklahoma's licking their wounds. They're not completely healthy. Their middle linebacker is 28, one of the best defensive players in the country, is banged up. He says he's going to play this week, but I don't think he's going to be the same. I don't think the Pokes win this game, but I certainly like them to stay within the number here.
Yeah, and I'm going to go the opposite of the Duce here. And the only a couple reasons I'm doing it. One, it is a 2:30 game and not 6:30. If this was a night game, shut it down. I would probably take Pokes money line with how they've really turned their season around at 6-2. I mean, they look like a completely different team, as we said. And then to Kevin's point, Ollie Gordon, he's doing stuff at Oklahoma State that hasn't been done since Barry Sanders. And he leads the NCAA in rushing. So like Kev said, watch this dude play because he's pretty special. He will be playing in the NFL on Sundays here in the near future. But
it's also smart, Matt, really quick. If you can't have too many picks of Kev, because then you can't overpass him. You see,
that's right.
When you're doing your pick, you got to remember that. Because you can't surpass your man if you're picking the same thing.
But I am going to take the Sooners here only because they had their wake-up call last week versus KU. again, if they were probably coming off a relatively easy win in the Big 12, again, I would probably take the Pokes, but I think they got their wake-up call. I don't think they played to their best ability because of kind of a weather game there. They're probably pissed off. They've still, they're sitting at 7-1, and they're going to be the Big 12's maybe only, between Texas and them, representative to try to sneak into the college football playoff. So they might be on the outside looking in now, but, they still have the motivation to get there. I expect it to be close. I'm taking the Sooners -6.5, and it's going to be maybe a INT return to get over the cover. They win by 7, no more than 10. Give me the Sooners.
That leads us to the locks of the week, Kev and Matt. What were you last week, Matt?
I was 4-1 with the regular picks and 0-1 on my lock.
Okay, so 4-2.
And I'm never trusting or betting on the Packers again. They are garbage. I thought with their backs against the wall, they'd play better, but Jordan Love's not the answer. So that did not go well for me.
I wish I could revel in that as a Bears fan, but I'm still pissed that the Vikings won too. I wish they could have tied.
Man, I took the Bears Sunday night -8.5 or +8.5, and I was quickly disappointed on that.
Illinois women just won third set. They won to beat Northwestern tonight, 13-10. They're 5 straight wins in the Big Ten for those ladies.
Wow,
looks like they're on their way to another NCAA tournament. I was worried about them, you guys. They were 8-10, so now they're 13-10.
Big Ten volleyball is no joke.
Yeah, no joke. The best conference in the country. So sorry if that's where my attention was the last 22 minutes, but I did a Matt when he was watching baseball, the NLCS, ALCS 2 weeks ago.
Me when we were interviewing Marcus Tabasco, and I'm watching the Kings and Warriors.
Yeah, come on, we're trying to, and the whole time I'm like, what is Kevin looking at? I'm like, Damask is even probably like.
Hey man, I talked to Marcus about it. I apologize to him. He's like, no worries, dude. I was doing the same thing.
So Matt, keep this ball rolling. I think you're above 500 now for sure. What's your lock of this week?
I'm going to go to Morgantown, West Virginia, and I'm going to take the over BYU West Virginia game of 51. Last 3 games that West Virginia has played in, the scores have been 41-39, 41-28, and 48-34. They've gotten in a lot of track meets here in the Big 12. Defense is not great. They are very content of going up and down the field and getting in these up and down matches where shootouts kind of. I don't think BYU is going to score a ton here, but I still think West Virginia will end up between 33 to 40 points. And I think BYU is going to give me at least 17 to 20. So I'm going to take the over 51 in this game. I think it's going to be another high scoring game. I like BYU's ability to come back after only dropping 6 at Texas last week. They've got some more in the tank. They're going to score some. So give me the over 41, West Virginia BYU.
Just give that man his money right now. Like if you're listening on this one, I love Matt's logic on that one. So I like that one with you, brother. I'm in on that.
Awesome.
And the last time we firmly agreed, BYU Texas Tech, BYU getting 4.5. We called money line, firmly happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yep.
All right. So I'm sticking with some logic here. There's a couple different logics at play here for me. Is Kansas creeps back into the rankings after a win against Oklahoma. It's a good football team. We know that, even though their star quarterback, preseason Big 12 player of the year, only needed to play against us, I suppose. They come off a big win against OU. They're feeling themselves a little bit, and they travel to Ames, Iowa. And we got an Iowa State team that's kind of
Yeah, right.
And Iowa State's favored? Iowa State's favored by 1.5?
This is the game I said.
You're the clones.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Makes zero sense.
It's a nonsense. It's a nonsense line, but they're also at home in prime time. They do they are the antithesis of USC, where they have nothing else to do in Ames.
No.
Nothing. And we could say that. We grew up in the Champaign-Urbana area. What did we have to do on Saturday night if Illinois was playing? Nothing but go to the game. I like the Clones to win this outright by more than 1.5. I know it seems weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is a nonsense. This is the average Joe goes into their ESPN, CBS Sports Line app and says, Kansas is good and Iowa State isn't. Why is it 1.5? Well, I'm hammering. I'm going to hammer Kansas. And what they mean by hammering Kansas, they're going to put $50. And there's going to be thousands of people going to put $50 on that. And the sharps are going to be like, nah, I'm taking Iowa State. As a matter of fact, the money that's rolled in has been really slow from the sharp side. It's been really heavy from the public side. It's moved the line down. It was 3.5 or 4.5 to start. So the public money came in early. The sharps are just sitting there waiting to hammer Iowa State. I love the Clones this week minus 1.5.
Yeah, I love it.
All righty, y'all. Just other than that, real quick, what's the world? Oh shoot, we can't talk. We can't talk about the World Series. All right, we're about to get off. We're gonna end this one right here with Kev needs to go watch that World Series. It's about 10 o'clock. It's getting late. We've got little ones. So with that said, real quick, Illinois beating Minnesota this week.
Yeah, give me Illinois on this.
All right, Kev.
Yeah, I made that pick on Monday night, and it's funny. I was listening to Eyes on Big Ten podcast and Jeffrey the Greek and his new co-host this year. It's funny. They both went 2017. The Greek went Illinois. The other guy went the other way. So it's kind of funny. They went the same score, but I do think Illinois can find a way to win this week. I think they're a little red ass this week. I think Brett seems red ass coming off a bye week. I think Illinois comes out and asserts its will on them.
I agree. I said 21-17, so I think we're all in agreement there. They need it. With that said, Swami out.
ILL.
I.